Hello, my name is David and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing two tags on Tag Tuesday. So hopefully you are able to buckle up and enjoy the ride on this. Both of these tags are created by Jim's Books, Reading, and Stuff. I'll have his channel linked down below. In the A tag, I was tagged by the great Michael K. Vaughan at the stately Vaughan Manor. And then I was tagged more recently in the D tag by the legendary Steve Donahue as one of the dudes that he was tagging for that tag. So thank you to both of them. Let's get right on to it. So question one for the A tag. A is for America. What do you consider the great American novel? Well, I mean, let's just go with the obvious here. It's got to be the Vinland Sagas, right? I mean, this is the Norse discovery of America. That's got to be in a no? Okay. Well, if I can't have that, then I kind of glanced at what people say is the great American novel, and I just none of them resonated with me. And I'll be the first to admit it's been almost 2 decades since I've read most of them. So my tastes have probably changed since then, and I probably should revisit some of them at some point in time. So if I have to pick something written by an American author that I think is truly great, it's going to be Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. And so, spoiler alert for those of you that will be joining me, or at least following along while I do my Ray Bradbury read along. That is, I think, the second book that I'll be reading in that read every book by challenge for Ray Bradbury, and I'm excited for it. It'll be like my fifth or sixth reread of that book, and it's excellent. Question two, A is for arc. Which character in literature has the most interesting character arc? And so for this one, I'm going to go with one of my favorite classic novels of all time, and say that Edmond Dantes from The Count of Monte Cristo has a fantastic character arc, from the really naive, young, love-stricken, extremely lucky, plucky captain to the man he evolves throughout that entire novel. He would have the greatest arc in literature. But if I was picking something in the fantasy realm, it would probably have to be Kaladin Stormblessed from the Stormlight Archives. So you get a double feature there for the arc question. A is for Australia. What was the last book you read by an Australian author? I honestly couldn't have told you before looking prior to making this video if I had even read any Australian authors. And the bad news is I really haven't read many. But I did find out Garth Nix is an Australian author. I love Garth Nix and his A Porcelain trilogy, which is no longer a trilogy. But I did reread Sabriel last year with the intent of rereading all of the books in that series, and that kind of fell to the wayside, not through any fault of those books. Excellent, excellent series of books, excellent author. 4. A is for Austen. What do you plan to read for Jane Austen July? Well, as you're going to find out here, I think later this week, my July is pretty jam-packed without Jane Austen butting her way in there. I've read most of the Jane Austen books. I will probably try to get an audiobook and to run through one of those over the course of the month of July. So what I'm going to do is, in my own fashion, I'm going to ask you, which Jane Austen book should I listen to in July? I've visited Pride and Prejudice multiple times. I think I've done Emma fairly recently. I know I've gone through most of her major novels, but I'm sure there are some that I think that I've done that I probably haven't done, or it's been long enough that I need to revisit them. So probably don't do Pride and Prejudice just because I'm most familiar with that one, but any of the others are fair game. So leave a comment down below. Let me know which one I should be checking out and listening to, because I'm pretty sure my library has all of them on the Overdrive app. So Number 5, A is for automobile. What is your favorite literary automobile? I honestly couldn't tell you. Like, legit. I could not name one if I tried. Um, so we're going to go with the Eagles from Lord of the Rings as my favorite vehicle. They aren't an automobile, but that's about as close as I can come because I honestly can't tell you any of them. Actually, let's scrap that. Build a pony. If we're going to go Lord of the Rings and we're going to choose a animal mount, so to speak, it's going to be Build a Pony. 6, A is for anonymous. What is your favorite book or poem published anonymously? So this should come as very little surprise to people, but Beowulf, 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 Beowulf. Based on the number of translations that I own of Beowulf, one might gather that that could be my favorite anonymous piece of work. I'll leave that up to you to decide. If you haven't read it, it's fantastic. It will be sometime this year for a medieval monthly. Don't worry. I know that we're visiting that one. So there. Number 7, A is for autobiography. What was the last autobiography you read? None. I don't read autobiographies. I don't really read many biographies. The last biography I read, I believe, was the one on Tolkien by Humphrey Carpenter. And I know for sure I read that about 4 years ago. Have I read any since then? I couldn't tell you because that's just not really something that I do. But I do have a biography on Edgar Rice Burroughs, I think, that arrived recently that I'll be reading at some point in time. And number 8, A is for audiobooks. Do you consider listening to an audiobook as reading? Yes. Yes, I do. I listen to audiobooks frequently. They are what keep me sane during my commutes. I enjoy them. When I'm not listening to audiobooks, I'm usually listening to podcasts, which fill that same kind of gap for me in being able to just immerse myself in learning things and enjoying things as I'm driving through. So, to all you naysayers, you're welcome to be wrong. So, I'm going to tag a couple people for the A tag. I looked through my catalog of subscriptions. I'm going to tag An Erudite Adventure and Amrita by the Book for the A tag. And now to the D tag. D is for Dahl. What is your favorite book by Roald Dahl? You know, it's been a long time since I've read Roald Dahl. But I'm thinking that it might be Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. D is for Doctor Who. What is your favorite book about time travel? Like Steve, I'm disappointed in this question. Come on. D is for Doctor Who. Who is your favorite doctor? That answer would be obvious. It's going to be David Tennant portraying the Doctor. And again, you're welcome to be wrong if you think otherwise. Just go watch Blink. That's all you needed. I rest my case on that one episode right there. But what is my favorite book about time travel? Oh boy. I don't know that I have a favorite one per se. However, I'm currently enjoying The Forever War by Joe Haldeman, which has forward moving time travel shenanigans, kind of. So I'm going to go with that because why not? D is for dark. What is the darkest book you have read? See, this is another one that I don't really do much for dark. It's just not my thing, really. But I do know that many years ago I read Stephen King's It, and that probably would qualify. D is for Dickens. How many Dickens novels have you read? I believe that count is 6. Uh, and my favorite of those is The Tale of Two Cities. And I believe I'll be reading David Copperfield in 2022 with Book Zealots. Um, but I'm not 100% sure on when that's going to be taking place. I just know it's far distant future. T is for dictionary. In these internet years, do you still use physical paper dictionaries? No. Haven't had one for years. Haven't used one. Even if I had one, I don't think I would. However, the Tolkienist in me does want to get a copy of the dictionary that he did work on. I do have things like the Introduction to Middle English, and then that Sweet's Anglo-Saxon Primer, which these are not dictionaries per se, but they help you learn the language and have a lot of vocabulary in them. So we'll say that those kind of count because they are kind of, I mean, yeah, maybe. D is for Dagger and Detective. What was the last detective novel you read? I don't read much in the way of detective novels. Now, I can tell you that the last novel I read that had a detective in it was Leviathan Wakes by James S. A. Corey. The last mystery book, like solid mystery book that I think I read was probably one of the Sherlock Holmes books by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Which one it was, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. But I do know one of the earliest ones that I've read, and I've read many times, is The Hound of the Baskervilles, which is fantastic. D is for Dostoevsky. What is your favorite Dostoevsky novel? Crime and Punishment, hands down so far. I've only read a little bit of Dostoevsky, but everything I have read, I have thoroughly enjoyed. And I know that in December, the literary discourse plan is to read The Idiot, which I do have a copy on my shelf that I will be reading along this year, so I'll get it in my annual Dostoevsky. D is for diversity. Which book from your reading ticked the most diversity boxes? And again, I'm going to kind of imitate Steve Donahue here and say, I don't pay attention to that. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not looking for a diverse book when I'm grabbing books off the shelf. I'm not going to get drawn to a book or drawn away from books simply because of its diversity or lack thereof. I'm here for the story, not for the diverse cast of characters. If they have it, great. It's an enjoyable thing to have in there, but it's not going to affect my experience in one way or the other. And then D is for drawing. Who is your favorite visual artist? And I'm, again, not sure I have an easy answer on this one, but I think I'm going to go with J.R.R. Tolkien. If you have not seen some of his illustrative works, do yourself a favor. Check some of them out. He, in addition to being a fantastic author and a brilliant medievalist and scholar, he was also a pretty darn good artist. Now, he was not necessarily a great poet, so we can't just land all of the laurels upon him. But yeah, he was a pretty darn good at artistry. So for this one, I'm tagging 3 folks, 3 dudes, Dominish Books, David's Book Reviews, and Duncan McCurdy. So thank you for watching. That has been a 2 for Tag Tuesday, the A tag and the D tag. And I know Jim just did the E tag, so I'm looking forward to seeing him continue on these over the course of the next however many weeks it takes to do one per week. So be sure to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.